Welcome to Monster Men.
You know, that song, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, should be rewritten to reflect the true wonderful time of the year because it's spooky season. It's officially. All I see is Halloween stuff, and every store I go to, it's cold as a well digger's ass right here. And to celebrate spooky season, we have the best guest we could have possibly found. We have paranormal investigator and jazz musician, combo we've never had before, Eric Mintel from Eric Mintel Investigates. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? Hello. Yes, yes. Uh,
Golf clap.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. And Hunter, I just saw you the other day, which was awesome at my talk up at the East Stroudsburg Library, which was awesome. I had a really good time. That was a great little crowd that night, man. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself.
It really was for a library because I go to library stuff all the time. Like,
Yeah.
all right, there's three of us.
I thought Hunter was just returning a book, and you were just some creepy guy.
Oh wait, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Hey, you like UFOs? Let's talk.
Oh wait, there's a guy talking. Oh, there he. Okay, come on, let's go.
By the way, that could happen at any library at any time. But yeah, no, I was there because Eric was giving a talk about some of his investigations. He had a video, big TV screen, and showing clips and stuff. It was really a fun night.
I was happy that there was a big screen there, man, because I had, I think the night before was using a projector, and they were just using the sound from the projector. And if you know what that sounds like, there's nothing there. So on a lot of these videos, we have sounds and things like that you have to hear. So I was glad at least you guys could hear that and what we experienced on some of these crazy investigations.
I did learn that you need an assistant.
Yes.
You needed a lot of help.
Where were you, man? You were there.
Well, now next time, I'll jump right in.
You're there, man. You're hired.
I'll be the guy like pointing with the pointer at stuff on the screen. That's what Eric is talking about.
I was like, how do you do this? Because she had a PC and I use a Mac, and I'm like, but I finally got it though, so it was fine. But it was good, man. I mean, I had a really good time. I sold a bunch of books, and it was really cool. And I was glad that you were there. Jack, you were not there. I don't know where you were, but I wish you were. You could have been there. You could have been.
Stone throw from Connecticut to
travel down 3 hours down. You know.
I'm trying to get Jack to come here for like a weekend. It's been rough.
Jack, where are you in Connecticut?
I'm in Fairfield County, so right outside of New York City.
Because we're coming up there on October 3rd to Connecticut too, not your area, but to Old Lyme, Connecticut.
You're gonna go right by me then.
Perfect. Yeah, right. Old Lyme, Connecticut. We're doing a premiere of the histories and mysteries of the Old Lyme Inn. Really? And it's going to be October 3rd, and it starts at 5:30 with heavy appetizers and drinks.
Is there any other kind?
Wait a second. I got to drive.
You got to drive to this. I need an assistant. So there you go. There's your excuse. But it's going to be cool because right next at this location, at this inn, on the side of this place is called the Side Door Jazz Club. And my group has played there a couple of times, and the owners are awesome. Ken and Chris Kitchings, they're awesome. And we got a lot of really cool activity that night. And yeah, very, very cool. So yeah, that's going to be October 3rd. And so that's going to be the premiere of that particular video. So guys, I'm booked 28 days in a row in October, man. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Crazy. Just doing talks, premieres, mainly a lot of talks, but I've got like 3 or 4 premieres starting. Actually, one of the premieres is on the September 27th. I mean, we're doing it all. We're doing like libraries, churches, restaurants, bed and breakfasts, hunting cryptids, Dogman. It's insane, man. And UFOs. It's unbelievable.
It's so funny. A lot of times I know when people go out into the woods looking for a cryptid or something strange, more times than most, you walk out with a UFO in your back pocket.
Exactly. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what that's all about. But guys, I also go into these things very, very skeptically. That's another thing. And I will say that right off the bat. Because especially in the ghost situation, I'm like, what is really going on here? Are people hearing like pipes in the basement heating up? Are they hearing an animal on the roof? Are they hearing somebody outside on the street that's doing these disembodied voices you could hear? But having said that, and then having actually captured what we've captured on video, I'm a very firm believer now that there is a real thin veil from here to there. And I always say at the end of the day, people are seeing something, and
Yeah.
and I think it's either they're connected to this somehow. It could be it could be in families, in generational. I don't know. But that in the ghost situation, we use Dominic Sattel, who's our spirit medium, and Julie Krause, who's a psychic medium. And they're great. I mean, they go into these areas. And for me, I don't have those feelings. They kind of give you like a preview of what we're in store for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing because when we do, like, say we do a bed and breakfast or something like that, that's haunted and it's got all this great history, but it's also got these paranormal activities going on. I never tell Dominic or Julie any of the activity. And I'm sure you guys, in any kind of investigation, you keep that pretty much close to the vest. And then when you get to the location, and if they're going to those hot spots and they're like 99% right on the money there, that's when I'll say something like, oh, by the way, you're right on the money there because, and then there's another story that starts unfolding, right? It's a whole nother set of stories that start unfolding. That's what I find fascinating about it.
So you are jumping right to what I was going to ask you about at some point, because I went and tried to cram in some videos, and I found the one that you did in Connecticut at the theater. And first of all, you're like, hey, I played here a few times. So like, this guy's so cool.
Yeah.
But then that's exactly what you had a psychic, but you didn't tell him the story that you heard.
Right.
Or at least you didn't tell him on camera, because as a skeptic, I'm like, okay.
And that's great. Yeah, and it's hard because when you're doing the editing and whatnot, people could say, oh, he was standing right there. But I made sure that Dominic, when I was talking to Drusilla, the woman there, and I was talking to Dwayne, I made sure that he was not even around. He was outside, like looking at the location, looking at the facade and whatnot. But yeah, it was amazing, man. But what I think is even cooler is that, yes, I've played there a bunch of times, which is awesome. But I think that's even cooler is I love working with forward-thinking people. So this guy, Dwayne, the director, said, yeah, let's do a video. Let's tell the story. And he's not afraid to tell the story. So when we did this video and we did this premiere at the theater, we recorded the video. I think it was in, oh man, I want to say it was March or April of 2023 and January of 24 or 23. Was it 23? Oh no, it was this year, January of 24. We had a premiere at Cheney Hall. I said to Dwayne, he didn't know how it was going to go. He didn't know how many people were going to show. I said, Dwayne, how many people do we have signed up for the screening? We've got over 200 coming, and we've got 90 people signed up for the ghost tour. I'm like, wow. What? And again, Dominic couldn't join me, so it was me. I had to do 90 people through the ghost tour, but they had some other people taking some other groups there, so we did like 15 at a time. But man, it was amazing, man. And he made a boatload of money that night too. So it was really great. And people loved it, and that's what I think is so cool, that this guy and places like that, and that I work with, they're not afraid because they know that this genre is going to bring people in and they want to experience these things, Yeah. And that's what it's all about, man. You want to create this dynamic, and it's not scary. People think it's, I've had a few people like, we don't want to be known for that. I'm like, why? Why don't you?
It'll make you money now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. In this day and age, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, it's not all about the money, but it's about people trying to create revenue, right? They're trying to create revenue streams in businesses that are failing. Well, these things are helping businesses. And it's a way outside of the box way of like advertising and marketing, but it works. It's really working.
Look at Gettysburg. Now, my father used to drag us to Gettysburg. Oh, I hated those trips. Except if you bought me a plastic gun, I was happy. But until that moment, I was a miserable kid. Now, when I've gone there over the last few years, it's a ghost town. So it's all about the ghosts. There's like ghosts painted on the streets and the sidewalk leading to. So I'm like,
and that's how it was up in Exeter. Exeter was nothing but aliens all over the town. It was so cool. Even at Starbucks, we went into to get in the drive-through. There's an alien right there. So it went right at the when you giving your order, there was like a blow up alien there. But it was so cool that the town embraced that kind of thing.
There's
So
more towns are doing that. It's because I think the proliferation of all the shows, all the folks like yourself, they're out on the road and
The internet too.
the
yeah, oh yeah,
internet. Like Pine Bush, New York. I think we talked a little at the library about Pine
yep.
Bush. I used
Oh
to
my
go
God,
up there all the time, and nobody wanted to talk about Pine Bush. They made stargazing illegal. You could get
yeah, which
ticketed
is
for it and
crazy.
stuff.
Yeah,
Now there's a parade, there's a festival, there's a museum,
yeah,
and you don't. I guess people don't feel like they're going to be ostracized for
no.
saying what they saw.
I lived in and around Salem in the 90s,
Oh wow,
and it was crowded on Halloween, but manageable. Then I went probably 10, 15 years ago, brought my nephew up there and stuff, and you couldn't park anywhere. There was lines for hours. Like it was, and everybody said, it goes, because now you're on an airplane and you're watching a show about Salem,
yeah,
and
Mhm.
every person is an amateur ghost hunter, and they want to
right.
sneak behind all the buildings. And
Like you
I
and
know,
me.
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and look, and this is the thing, you're talking about jazz. I've been doing jazz for 31 years of my life, as a professional musician. And I was always a filmmaker, though. I always loved film. I always loved editing. I always loved, even back in the day with the big, bulky VHS cameras,
Remember
we were
those?
actually making martial art films, and doing the edits in camera. Like we would do a move, stop it, do another move, stop it, and devised a way. Look, it's going to take a fraction of a second for this thing to start kick in again. So let's wait and then do the move. So we were editing all in camera,
Wow.
but what a whole different dynamic it is now, with all the editing and stuff. So back in 2016, I was looking at a lot of these paranormal shows on TV and I said, man, I could do something like that. I mean, I was like, man, I love filmmaking and always wanted to do this. And we've got a lot of stories to tell. I said, I could do this. So I started, it was originally Bucks County Paranormal Investigations, but we quickly changed it to Eric Mintel Investigates just because we're traveling all over the place. And we never from day one did we ever tout ourselves as experts in anything. Basically just telling the stories, right?
Mhm.
And trying to do it as truth-based as possible. Look, in the beginning, yeah, we made these little tiny mini movies like Monster in the Building, and the Beast of Bedminster Beast Man, and things like that. But it cut our teeth as far as like, editing and filmmaking and stuff like that. But then it got real serious when people were starting to call me and say, look, would you guys want to come in and do a feature on our bed and breakfast or our restaurant? And I said, yeah, that would be phenomenal. I would love that. And then we worked it out to where it's like, now it's kind of like a paranormal tourism TV show where we're showing these great historical venues and showing people what to do, where to go, where to experience these things. And it's a win-win for everybody,
Yeah. By the way, your book that I got a copy of here.
Thank you, sir.
Eric Mintel Investigates, Casebook Investigations, 2016 to I guess
To whenever.
I read this book and I was like, this is like a paranormal appetizer platter because you had
With
a
a
lot.
side of sushi.
I mean, you had a lot jammed in there. And it was like, oh my God. And me now living in Pennsylvania, there's so much in Pennsylvania. Like,
Oh, I know.
gotta
Yeah.
go there. I gotta go there. But
Yep.
it whetted my appetite
I'm so
for
glad to hear
those
that, man.
places that some I'd never heard of.
Yep.
And it kind of reignited my interest
Oh, that's good to hear.
because it comes and goes, with me.
Sure.
I ride it high for a while and then I'm like, oh, I can't. If I go like UFOs, I always feel like I've got a ton of UFO books behind me. If I go too deep, I think I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
You could really go down that rabbit hole.
yeah,
But
so I pull out.
I find it fascinating though, because here's the thing. In a lot of our investigations, guys, the things just start happening. And I always blame it on Dominic too, because within 15 to 20 minutes, something is going on. Something happens. Whether it's when we're out in Wisconsin, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, investigated the Beast of Bray Road, or down in the New Jersey Pine Barrens investigating Bigfoot in the Pine Barrens. It was insane. I don't know if you want me to tell you those stories, but man, I'll tell you.
Yes.
Please start with Bigfoot in the Pine Barrens, because
Okay, so
that interests me.
here's the thing. I got to tell you right off the bat. I was always watching those Bigfoot shows. I love those shows, and nothing against Bigfoot researchers or anything like that. But I always heard these guys whooping and hollering for these Bigfoot, right? And I'm like, especially on Finding Bigfoot, I'm like, they're whooping and screaming, and I'm like, I always was like, is this what they sound like? Well, the night of October 11th of 2021 changed my whole perspective of this whole thing, because we were down in an area in the Pine Barrens in the Wharton State Forest called the Bowl. And it's an area, it's just like it sounds. It's like a bowl. It's high on the sides and down in the middle. And we were about 5 miles in to the Pine Barrens. And if you guys know the Pine Barrens, of course, thousands and thousands of acres of dense forest.
Yeah.
So we're on the fire roads. We get down in there and we go we park the car, went about 600 yards into the woods, into the bowl, and set up base camp. And it was me, Dominic, Eric Spinner, who's a Bigfoot researcher, and his buddy Art Mack. And also joining us was Eric's wife, Heather, and Eric's daughter, Anastasia, who was actually helping film. She was shooting video. So anyway, to make a long story short, Dominic and Art are sitting at base camp just talking about the protocols they're doing for the research, wood knocks, this and that, how they look for tracks. And all of a sudden, we hear a whoop in the background. We hear whoop like that. And I'm like, what? So then we had little lavalier microphones, those little Cinco microphones. It was loud enough that it picked it up there, but Eric Spinner had very high powered microphones. So it caught it. Well, then Heather decides to answer it and do a whoop. Well, she whooped and it whoops back to us.
That's creepy.
It was very spooky. And there was nobody down there. There was no one could possibly be. It's a cedar swamp. There's no one could be down there. So we heard that and we were like, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? And those guys never had that kind of activity down there at all.
Really?
So yeah, Art was like, oh my God, you guys are bringing us luck tonight. They may have heard like coyote howls and things like that, but they never heard anything like that. So that was amazing. And then we got that. And then we were hearing all kinds of weird activity. But you're talking about UFOs. We kept seeing red pinpoints of light in the woods. And it was the weirdest thing because
which doesn't belong.
It doesn't belong there. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And Eric has been getting this activity of lights coming down from the treetops, coming down into the forest and then disappearing. So I don't know what that's all about either, but there's also been other reports about that, these UFO lights or whatever it is. So that was one thing. And then we kept hearing like big rustling sounds behind us and it was dead quiet there. I mean, it was no wind, no nothing. Mm-hmm. And we think that, and we heard this creature like whooping as it was going further away. And we think it was the bigger Bigfoot, like Mama Bigfoot coming to go get it. Because the idea was they were having juvenile Bigfoot sightings in the Pine Barrens. And that's what I think we were hearing was a juvenile Bigfoot. Because it wasn't a low whoop. It was a very high-pitched whoop. Right. I wish I could show you that. I could show you the video of that. I wonder if we could do that here. But I guess we could probably do that like later on or something. But
the whoop video, because you shared that.
I know, right?
It was awesome.
I don't know if I have. Yeah, I don't. There's a way of doing that here where I could put a video up here. But yeah, it was just absolutely amazing. But so it changed my whole perspective on what's out there. And then so go back a week before that, we were in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and we were investigating the Beast of Bray Road. And Jack, I don't know, you've never heard the story. I don't know if you've heard the story or not, but
no, I've heard of the Beast of Bray Road, but
well, so did I. I had heard about it, and I never really put 2 cents to it. I said, it sounds like a good story. It sounds pretty cool. Never really kind of putting any sense to it at all. until we got to Elkhorn. And the reason why we were out there was a good friend of ours, Ellen Collins. She wound up saying to me, she's like, "You guys should do a video on the Beast of Bray Road," And I'm like, "Oh, that would be phenomenal. I would love to do that." I said, "The only thing is, I'm in Pennsylvania. How are we going to get out to Wisconsin? Who's going to pay for it? How are we going to do this?" Yeah. Well, Ellen wound up paying the whole freight for us to go out there. She flew us out there, hotel, and paid me to edit it and whatnot. So it was one of the best. I mean, she was phenomenal. She is phenomenal. She moved to Roswell, believe it or not, speaking of UFOs. Yeah, I know. It's perfect. So, so we did this investigation. This was October 2nd through the 4th of 2021. And I'll tell you guys, the way this whole thing came about was amazing because she told me that, and I think it was July of 2021 or 2020. It was July of 2020. She told me this to do this. So we were working on trying to get this together. December of 2020, of course, everybody's going through COVID and we're inside and whatnot. And I'm watching a paranormal show. And here I see Lee Hample, who is on the farm in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, that's been getting all of this activity of this creature. Mm-hmm. And his farm is only like 0.2 of a mile from Bray Road. So I said that night, man, I'm like, boy, he looks like he would be cool to talk to. Let me see if I could find his information and give him a call. So there he was, right on the internet. He had a website and he had his phone number there. I called him. That night, we were on the phone for like 2 hours talking like everything about all of his research. And I said, "Lee, we're thinking about coming out to do an investigation. Can we do that?" He's like, "Absolutely. Yes, please do." So then fast forward to October of 2021, we got out there and did it. And he has a 35-acre hayfield. And Lee used to be a math teacher. He was a math teacher in Wakanda, Illinois, could care less about the paranormal, had no interest in that at all. Until he had his own encounter. He bought the farm, I think, in 2011 and started farming in 2013. And that's when I believe he had his first encounter.
He bought a farm. He didn't die.
That's when I first thought, he was talking to a ghost the entire time. He bought the
farm. He was dead the whole time.
Yes, I was talking to a ghost.
It was Haley Joel Osment.
Let me clarify. He's still alive. So yeah, he
kicked the bucket.
He bought the farm from his mother's estate. So he bought a farm.
He bought a farm. There we go.
So, and then he had this encounter in 2013. He saw these red glowing eyes staring at him from the field next to his barn. And as he was pulling out of the driveway, and this thing like leaped 15 feet in the air and disappeared. So all of a sudden he's freaking out. He's like, he calls his brother Fred and says, "Fred, there's something going on here." And prior to this, his neighbors said, "Oh yeah, by the way," like very nonchalant, "Oh, by the way, Lee, that's where the creature lives." And they're like, he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's where the werewolf lives." He's like, "Are you kidding me?" So, and then he has this encounter because he didn't really believe it. Then he has this encounter, and then crazy stuff started happening. He went over and found a 5-toed 7-pad. I'm sorry, I always get this wrong. 5-pad 7-toed track in the field. He found square tracks, like square, which we think this thing is like walking on its knuckles. So we call it knuckle walkers. So this thing's got square tracks. So anyway, he's finding all this evidence, hair samples, UFO lights going through the woods. I mean, these videos, you could see it all on my video. It's called The Beast of Bray Road, Alive and Well. And it was just crazy. So we finally got to his farm, and Lee's showing us all of his activity, all of these photos, the hair samples and everything. Hair samples, I think, and you've heard this before, Hunter, where they're under the microscope, they're translucent. Mm-hmm. So there's no medulla, so they're clear. It's like, and Lee's got pictures of this thing. He's got pictures of weird mist that is coming over these roadkill deer that he's putting in this area called the bait area. I don't know if I mentioned it the other night, Hunter, but you know what? We actually we did some reconnaissance the day of the investigation. Before we did the nighttime investigation, we did the day investigation and went over to this bait area that is in Lee's field. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but Scott it was me, Ellen, Dominic, and Ellen's son Scott. Scott builds these really high-end drones, so he has to wear virtual reality glasses for these drones. So he's following us in the field as we're going through the field over to the bait area. We disappeared off of Scott's screen, like digitally. We disappeared.
It couldn't read you anymore.
It couldn't read us anymore. He lifts the glasses up. We're still there, but digitally that we were not there. So there was something weird. It was cloaked. Yeah, there was some kind of weird thing there. The other thing I didn't mention the other night too, in the follow up, I should have mentioned this. We did. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me hold off on that for a second, because I still get goosebumps talking about this, because this is real shit that happened to us, man.
I wish you'd be more passionate about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
I know. I know. We need more energy here. Oh my God. So we get over there at the nighttime investigation. We're in Lee's barn, and if you could picture this, the barn the farm itself is like a big rectangle. So it's 35 acres. On one side is the corn. The corn was still up, and it's corn, and then corn on the other side by the bait area. But the hay was all cut down, so it was all flat. So we're in the barn, and I said, Lee, and this is about 8:30. I said, Lee, could we do a night investigation out in the field by the bait area? He's like, absolutely. Just be careful. Just be safe out there. Yeah. So no problem. So we had to it's a haul to get out there. So we had to take 4-wheelers to get out there. And Dominic goes, oh, do you think we're going to scare anything away with this thing? Well, that theory went out the door that night, because no, it wasn't. We get out there, and no sooner do we get off the 4-wheelers, we thought we'd have to actually scrub the whole investigation, because when we were in the barn, it looked like it was going to rain. Like clouds were starting to form. It looked really bad out there. But the minute we got out to the area, down to that bait area, we get off the 4-wheelers, and it's crystal clear. It was a crystal clear night, which made Dominic look up and go, what the hell is that? And here it was a solid UFO, solid orb of light going over the field, only about 1,000 feet up from us.
Oh, wow. That's low.
And you could see other planes around it. You could see other planes blinking and whatnot. But we're looking at this solid orb, trying to figure out what the hell it is. We went back later on and looked. It wasn't a satellite. It wasn't space station or anything like that. And as we're looking at this thing, it does a 45-degree angle and blinks out and disappears. And we caught it on video. Thank God. Thank God, Scott. I said, Scott, go up there and check it out. And he was able to get it. And I mean, it's, he's hand holding the camera. So, but when we were there, it was just solidly going over. So it was crazy. So that blinked out. And we couldn't believe that. So we're still like trying to figure out. Then we hear a howl in the distance, like just very far in the distance. And Dominic and I are like looking at each other like, what the hell's that? Then one closer. It's getting closer. Another type of howl. Definitely not coyote howls. We all know what coyotes sound like. This is a very monotone, and you heard it, Hunter. I mean, it's a very monotone sound. So Dominic goes to Ellen, are you hearing these howls? Because Ellen is still looking up for the UFO. She's still looking up, trying to figure out what that is. And we're hearing the howl, and she's like, yeah, it's coming from over there. Well, with that, the third howl happens, and it's so close that, again, we had those little microphones on. It was louder on site. It was like, to me, I would say, it was like a man screaming in this field. It was low, guttural, scream, growl, yell combination. That was monotone. It didn't pitch, but just kept going.
Yeah, and it sounded really close to you. I mean, yeah, that mic should not have picked up that sound unless it was really loud.
It was really loud. I mean, and I kid you not, man, it was louder on site and that's why I picked it up. And we were like, what? Because we didn't have any high power tech, audio or anything. And again, I go back to this again. This is my complete stupidity of not thinking, because I thought, again, this was going to be bullshit. I didn't think we were going to have anything. I didn't think we were going to have any activity.
Well, you don't think you're going to run into a werewolf. I mean, honestly.
Exactly. Who knew?
A story. It's a great
I know.
legend.
You think it's a story. But I'm like, oh my God. And Lee had given me, he wanted me to take the flare gun And I should have taken that, man, because if we would have done that, we would have lit up the whole area there. We could have seen what the hell it was, but we didn't do that. So this
In
howl,
what situation would you ever not take the flare gun,
I
man?
know it was. Well, again, I didn't think we were going to even run into anything, but then when we heard that howl, I was like, oh, this is it. This, the fear factor's there, right? The fear factor was there of like, what, it was like, we were like this. And I know what that fear is of that. I had been attacked by 2 Dobermans when I was younger.
Oh God.
So I was like, I knew whenever I hear a dog growling now, you get that PTSD kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so when I heard that, it was that, but it was also, what are we hearing? What is this? What is this? But what really got me was Dominic said to Scott, shine the light over to where we heard the howls. Now, the Beast of Bray Road is supposed to be 6 to 7 feet tall, and it's supposed to be yellow eyes or orange eyes. So he shines the light over in the corn, about 6 to 7 feet up in the corn. We see yellow eyes going like this, like just looking at us like this, stalking us like that. And but that was it for me. I said, we got to get out of here. That's it.
Smart man.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're out. So we got on the 4-wheelers, and even going back on the 4-wheelers, we were afraid actually that this thing could jump out at us on the 4-wheelers. That's how crazy jumped up we were.
Yeah.
So the other thing I didn't mention was we did actually we had a trifecta of activity there. So right after the howl, we had a very weird mist came up from the field that we were in, and it was messing with our audio. So this very weird mist came up, and you could sort of see it in the video, but when we were on site, it was like a blurriness on the ground. It was very weird. So then that's what we got on the after the eye shine, we got on the 4-wheelers and went back. Lee couldn't believe we were back so soon. We were out there only like a half hour, and that was it. And we were back.
But yeah, but look, you got 2 out of 3.
Oh,
all you're missing was a ghost walking through the mist.
I know. Yeah, exactly. We got a UFO, we got the creature, we got mist. We just needed a ghost.
Yeah,
but no, you're right. But what happened later that night? The entire town of Elkhorn lost power. So it was a very, very weird thing. Now, there's a couple of things we could talk about what happened there. Lee has a picture, which is crazy, and I should have shown that in my display, which I think I'm going to do in the next one. But he's got a daylight picture of these orbs in the sky in the daylight. In a daylight sighting of these orbs, like 5 or 6 orbs, with something inside the orb that looks like it could be the creature. It's like in a T formation. Oh my God. Jack, I kid you not, man. It looks like a T formation. It's like right there in this orb. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, when we saw the UFO and then we heard the howls, could this thing have deposited? Could the UFO that we saw deposit this creature or these creatures?
Well, yeah, that's big. That people talk a lot about. There's a connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. And the Beast of Bray Road is Bigfooty.
It's Bigfoot. That's the thing. Who knows? Maybe it was Bigfoot. I don't know, because we never saw the physical creature, but we saw the eye shine, we heard it, and this is the biggest mystery, and that's what we're trying to get through. And again, if I would have had that flare gun, if I would have had, if I would have, but we didn't. So it was just amazing. Now, with all that activity, it was insane because we went back to the hotel room, and the next morning I woke up and I had a stick that I must have brought back on my boot, and I said, "Oh, look, I brought the stick." Dominic goes, "You brought it back with you, didn't you?" And that's why we lost the power and stuff. But now I don't know. It was a weird night. And then Lee texts me in the morning. He says the trail cams didn't work that night. We weren't on the trail cams. It was like they shut off at 5 o'clock. They didn't go on till 7 o'clock the next morning.
Which is weird because they're independent.
They are totally independent. And that's what was the weirdest thing about this thing. And when we did that reconnaissance I was telling you about, when we disappeared off Scott's screen, while we were there, I baited that area with steak bones that we had the night before. So we put those steak bones in there in the afternoon, and they were still there at night when we got there. They were still there. But whatever it was took the steak bones. The next morning they were gone. Now, fast forward 6 months later, we went and did a follow-up investigation back to Elkhorn. Thank you, Ellen, again. Ellen, if you're here, thank you. So we did it again, but man, we didn't encounter it that time. And I'm kind of glad we didn't, because if we did, people would say, oh, these guys are faking it, But
I would be suspicious myself. Like if I were you, I'd be suspicious too. Like,
oh, absolutely.
We're being set up.
Oh, yeah, I would be too. Absolutely. And I was glad that we didn't encounter it. Although Ellen says that she did see a shadow go behind her truck, but we didn't see it. We weren't up there. She was like a half a mile away in one area. We were across the field in the other area. But what we did come away with on that investigation, on the follow-up, was a town hall meeting where over 140 people showed up to tell their story of seeing this thing. So
you can't get 140 people to show up for anything in a town.
Tell me that.
Even if they say we're going to demolish the town if you all don't show up to the meeting, you'll get 15 of the regulars that will come by. So that's incredible.
This place, it was packed, and you could see it again. We did another video, The Beast of Bray Road, the follow-up. You could see these people coming in, telling their stories. And what I came away with was the way the creature walks. Like when it's on two legs, it looks like it's gliding. And this is a theme that's going on with these dogmen, or even Bigfoot. It looks like it's gliding when it's on two legs, but then when it's on all fours, it's very fast, very fast.
Huh.
So people are seeing this thing out there, and it's, is it a family of these things? Is there a pack of these things? I don't know. We did do some drone footage over Bray Road. And what we did now, Lee's Farm, again, is only 0.2 of a mile from Bray Road, where everybody's been getting this creature. So we did see large cutouts in the corn going from Lee's property over Bray Road and into the quarry.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking to myself, could this thing be living in the quarry? Could this thing have, there's some cave systems in this quarry. Could this thing be over there? Because it was big, but it wasn't as big as like a car going through. It was like a bear-sized swath cut through. And that's what this thing's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a big thing. So that was
a couple of fools to go investigate the caves while you guys sit comfortably elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll speak for myself. I'll be the one fool. I'll do that.
Oh my God.
I went into the caves where I lived in Yonkers growing up. We were right by the Son of Sam.
Oh man.
Serial killer.
Oh,
so by the time I got to college in like the mid 80s, we were like, the Satanists all are still down there. Let's go in the caves where the Satanists are. We went, me and just one other guy, and we came across some strange people. And I don't know if they were Satanists, but I have a very disregard for my own life. So we'll go there. I want to share something because you're talking about, out in the field and seeing a UFO. Back in the days of Pine Bush, because I saw a UFO along with actually thousands of others in 1987 on New York I-85, I-87. So that really got me going. And we have the Hudson Valley Flap. So we went to Pine Bush. Every now and then, me and my friends would go there. And I'm not going to say we trespassed on some farmland at the time, but might have happened. So I was out there armed with remember the 110 cameras?
Oh my God. Yeah.
That was our evidence gathering tool. So we're in this farm where my friends are going, if we could get shot, we're in a farm, but we shouldn't be. I'm like, well, then just keep quiet. So we got to the middle of this field and we're looking up, and then we start seeing a pair of lights just circling and spiraling and just like going around each other and stuff.
Wow.
I mean, what is that? And then we noticed that because, at nighttime, it's very loud.
Yeah.
When you're out in the middle of nowhere, it's very loud with, crickets and
cricket noise. Yeah, sure.
Dogs and everything. All of that noise stops.
Wow.
So we're in this field in the dead of night.
Oh my God.
Something's up in the sky. And it's not really that close to us, but we can see what's happening. I'm like, uh-oh. Yeah. We're going to be Whitley Strieber right now. We might want to run and get the hell out because we're kind of close.
You're going to be communioned.
Yeah, we're kind of close to, I think, his cabin. So let's get the hell out of here.
Wow.
We took some pictures, but it just came out. Those 110 cameras are worthless.
One of my favorite books, man. Night Siege, Hudson Valley.
Oh, love that book. I have it here somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I love this book. That's been one of the most fascinating cases of UFOs and sightings, and which I would love to go up there and do an investigation of.
I can't even pull the book out. There's a great book, Silent Invasion.
Oh yeah,
by Dr. Ellen Crystal, and that's just about Pine Bush. She passed away years ago. Unfortunately,
she bought the farm.
She bought
the farm.
Oh my God!
But it's in the really
extraterrestrial farm in the sky right now.
Hopefully, there's answers there.
Yeah, social for her.
Oh man, crazy.
So
yeah, no, that those sightings were incredible. So, what did you think it was? I mean, did you get any footage?
Like I said, the 110 camera, it spit out nothing. We got it developed; it just looked black.
Yeah.
You couldn't even see the stars or anything. It was terrible. I would say, because I think Stewart Air Force Base is relatively close by, but this was they were just acting weird, because the way they were moving, they were like circling around each other.
They were like doing a dance.
Yeah, it was really strange.
I've heard that before.
It could be. Now, I got fooled once in Vermont. We were in a chalet by Mount Snow, and everyone looks at the skylight and they see a bright white object circling over the house. Everyone freaks out. I go, and they'd never let me live this down. This is the moment I've been waiting my whole life for. I announced to everyone, and I rush outside. It's a firefly. They have these monster fireflies that actually glow kind of white, not yellow like I'm used to. But it freaked out an entire house of people. So maybe that's what we saw. Maybe they were closer than we thought. I don't know. At the time, I didn't think that.
But if the crickets stopped chirping and everything, that's odd.
This is my friend's very pragmatic. He's an engineer, graduated Cooper Union. My thought was UFO. Even the wildlife knows there's something here. His thought: farmers here with a gun.
We got to get out of here.
Yeah, we've been here too long.
We've been here way too long.
So we both had different reactions, but we both did the same action, which was to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Well, you're smart. I mean, there's stuff out there, man. I mean, I truly believe that, now that the government's saying, hey, folks, the UFOs you're seeing all these years are real. We just don't know what they are. And with all the declassification of a lot of these things, that the Navy pilots are seeing and these UFOs going into the water, into the oceans. Yeah. I always thought, I don't know what you guys think about this, but I always thought they were here anyway. They were coming from the oceans. I always thought that they were either coming from the oceans or the moon, because we're having such frequency of flight and activity that they've got to be coming from closer distances than these vast distances away, or they figured out how to bend space and time.
I'll tell you really quick. My dad, when he was in the Army, years before, this is like before Leonard Nimoy and In Search Of, he was in a room where they were tracking on radar planes and stuff, and he said something went across the screen way too fast, and then he goes, it would change direction, and then it disappeared into the water.
Yep.
And I always had this cool story, and then just more recently, suddenly it became like, oh wait, no, there's way more of a correlation between UFOs and the ocean.
No doubt.
My dad was there first.
He was there. Yeah, he knew about it.
I think that movie, The Abyss, is kind of, when you watch that now, like,
Oh yeah, there's a lot. Because look, we haven't really even explored half the oceans, like a quarter of the ocean. And I mean, there's so many, the depths of the ocean that you can't even get to, but I always thought that, the alien descriptions, they always look so aquatic looking, so
mermaids.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Tadpoles, actually. A lot of tadpoles.
Exactly. Who knows though, man, and then you've got those theories that, the Roswell aliens were us from the future, and all this other kind of stuff. So, that was my buddy, Tom Carey. That was one of his thoughts. He wrote a lot of books on the Roswell case and actually talked to the original witnesses that handled the material and saw the bodies. So, I look, at the end of the day, I always say there's always a little bit of truth to the folklore, right?
Especially when there's so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
for you, for UFOs, ghosts, and Bigfoot in particular, there is so much I could say it's anecdotal evidence, but it's centuries. It goes
Oh
across
yeah.
centuries, and it changes names throughout time. But it's when you look at the core of it, like Jacques Vallée has done a lot of work on that. It's the same thing. We're all experiencing the same thing over and over again.
We're all experiencing it, and I think it's also, we're talking about portals. We were talking about portals during my talk. We're talking about portals, and I think Lee over in Elkhorn, I think that property is some kind of like high energy area, a definitely high strangeness area. But he's got I think it's how you have ley lines across the
Mm-hmm.
world, and I really think that that is one of those areas there. He had this like video of these UFO lights I had mentioned going through the woods. And we went over there during the follow up the next year because we weren't able to go over onto that field because of the corn and stuff that was there. And plus, we didn't want to even go in the corn with this thing, running around.
Yeah.
But the following year, we did go into the corn and we went over to those woods. And there was no way. I thought it was maybe ATVs or four wheelers going through the woods with the lights, and maybe
Yeah.
that's what we were seeing. But there was no way because there were so many woods there and so much density right there that you couldn't even ride. You couldn't get anything through there. You'd have to stop every second to get around the tree. So it
Yeah.
wasn't going to be a smooth motion like these were. And so it was amazing. So I mean, and even with the UFO flap, I mean, I really would love to do a documentary on the Hudson Valley sightings, man, and talk to some of those witnesses because there's people that are still to this day. It was such a profound impact on them that and you too,
And raised.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So
We
and
were
they
there. I mean, it was in the front page of the paper the next day.
and you
And
saw the craft
so we were right next to the New York State Thruway, waiting for my sister to get out of work at Babies R Us or whatever.
okay.
And I was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and my mother, and we're at the top of a parking garage. So it's a clear night, and we're just hanging out. And then I noticed the lights on 87 are stopping, like the cars. And people, I get out of the car, I go look at the edge. People have stopped their cars, and everyone's looking up. I look up in time to see this night sky blotted out.
Oh my God.
With a light, maybe 6 or 7 lights on the edge of this thing that was so big. I'm not even going to say football field is too small for it. And it soundlessly made its way. We followed it as far as we could. And then it got down like by the Hudson between like the Palisades and New Jersey and just lit up and went straight up into the sky.
Wow.
But it was huge. And I always think if that's technology that we were working on, within 20, 25 years, it becomes old technology and then it becomes commonplace. And it's something that is used. I've never seen anything like that since. Wow. So I don't know what it is.
And the reports of that thing, it wasn't that it was going fast. It was really slow.
Super slow. They said it was planes flying in formation. I'm like, okay.
Right.
But
there's
between
no way.
those planes, it blocked out the moon at one point.
Yeah.
Every star as it was making its way.
There's no way it could be.
And I was very pragmatic people.
Yeah, you could be the most skilled pilot, but there's no way that it could be ultralights flying in that kind of formation. No way.
And not making a sound because
right.
Not
because you're going to hear, and those things are loud. Those motors on those things are loud. You're going to hear it.
Very loud. Jack lives right by a local airport that has little prop planes and stuff. You must hear that all the time.
We're not that close.
Really? I thought you're close enough. Well.
It's just the UFOs are visiting Jack. That's the thing.
Yes.
Probably. He's like, oh, I've put out tea for you.
I want to go back to ghosts real quick. I want 2 things. Number one, I want to hear some of the cool things you might have seen. We had a friend who worked for the Warrens.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 80% BS, another 10% weird, but probably explainable. And then another 10%, what the hell did I just see? And he was like, like I was in a an attic at 3 o'clock in the morning and a screwdriver flew across the room, or
Oh.
sparks flying out of a ceiling or something, little things like that. We had another paranormal investigator on who had some cool stories and stuff. So I want to hear that. I'll ask my other question afterwards. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So you just said attic. I'll give you a couple of examples what happened. So we did an investigation. Where was it? In Fitzgerald, Georgia. And we were in an art center in Fitzgerald. Now, Fitzgerald is one of these areas that was actually one of the very first areas in the country that started healing after the Civil War. They brought Northerners down to live and work and try to live together down there. So Fitzgerald is it's like friendship town. They call it down there. Great people. Unfortunately, it's very, very depressed type of area too. But it's, like any area, they're trying to revitalize it and trying to bring it up. Mm-hmm. Well, we did an investigation for the Tourism Council down in Fitzgerald, and we were in this area called the Carnegie Art Center. So unbeknownst to me, they have an African art collection there that rivals the Smithsonian, and it's actually bigger than the Smithsonian. That's housed next door in this temple, in this Masonic temple.
Wow.
Which I didn't realize. And in the art center that we were just in, all of the art, not all of it, but most of the art was in this center, and it was on display, but they had just taken it out of there maybe about a week or so before. But when we were in there, I was standing in an area where this big African warrior statue was standing. And you could see this on the video. The guy's explaining that, and this is at night, and we've got night vision on, and he's saying that this is where the statue was, and we had a magnetometer. We don't use a lot of the gimmicks. Like, we don't use the REM pods. We're not using spirit boxes. We're really only using a magnetometer and Dominic or Julie. Mm-hmm. But in this particular area, the magnetometer was going off the charts in this area. And as we're looking at this thing going crazy, you could see on the video an orb comes right up behind me, just right on camera, and stops. And so that was one. But another, and we couldn't explain that. We didn't know what the heck that was. I know it wasn't dust, and I knew it wasn't like a reflection of the camera or anything like that. So this next one was crazy. And it really made me think, what the hell is going on here? So we were investigating this place called the Hanoverville Roadhouse in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Great place.
Bye.
Yep. Very, very cool place. Mark, the owner, phenomenal guy. He does, he's all about the paranormal. He loves this stuff, and wanted us to come in and do an investigation. So he's showing me around, and when I was there myself, went up to the attic, and when I went up by myself into the attic, I felt like that, that like vertigo kind of feeling where you're kind of like off kilter, or when you've had a binge night drinking and whatnot, and you're like, the next day you're.
We know that feeling well.
Oh, that feeling. Okay, now
that one.
Yeah.
Just seeing if you guys are awake.
Well acquainted with it.
Suddenly I can relate.
Wait, this is getting more interesting now. So anyway, so we did the investigation. Now we go up. Mark says to me, "Whatever you do," there was a mirror on the side wall, and it was like a half broken mirror, but it was there. He goes, "Whatever you do, don't touch the mirror." There was a group that turned the mirror around. So the mirror itself is like where you can see your reflection, but they turned it around to the wall. When they did that, all of this poltergeist activity started happening up there. So he goes, "Whatever you do, don't touch the mirror." I was like, "Okay, I'm not touching the mirror. No way."
That would be like telling me and Jack, touch the mirror. Touch the mirror.
Exactly. All my friends were saying, "Why didn't you touch the mirror?" So, but I said, "Well, look, he's a paying client, so I'm going to do what he tells me." So so we didn't do that, but we put a static camera in the attic on this mirror, and we went downstairs and did our thing. We're looking around. Dominic's tuning in on a whole bunch of stuff. And I look at the footage later on here, and there's no animals up there, nothing like that. And there was nobody up there. In the mirror, you could see the shadow just starts coming up and down in the mirror. It just rises and falls in the mirror. And it was the weirdest thing, man. And I showed that to Mark. He couldn't believe it. But prior to this, though, he has great security camera footage of a chair that's just bolts out from the table that it's at. Just flies out.
Yeah.
And then you see, and Hunter, you saw this, there was an orb that came over to the table, and then you see a sugar packet container being thrown to the floor.
Yeah.
And now look, here's the thing. There's a little wall there, right? There was a wall there, and you could say, hey, there's somebody back there kicking the chair or throwing the sugar. So that was my very first thought, because I'm trying to debunk these things at the same time, right? I want to see what's really going on. So, but we get there, and there was no way anybody could be there because there's a little wall and you could see it in the video. There's a little low wall that is out, and it goes all the way back to the wall. So if you're standing there, you're going to be seen on the security camera. So there's no way that anybody could be there. So that was completely out the window. So something happened because Mark had heard a big crash, and he was like, he didn't even see the chair. He went down and was like looking around to see what was going on. And he only thought, well, let me roll back the security footage and see what happened. And that's when he saw the chair.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Good thing he was there to hear it.
Oh, he was there to hear. Oh, for sure. And he told me too, he was up there doing paperwork. When you get the feeling of like somebody's over your shoulder watching you or looking at you, he said to somebody that he saw this person, and he looked over real quick and said, I'll be right with you in a minute. And he looked back and they were gone. So weird things like that. But the other thing the other thing that happened, which was wild, in that Cheney Hall that we were talking about before, Dominic was downstairs in the dressing room, and the dressing room was always pulling him to this area for some reason. He's getting this like weird feeling at this dressing room. So I was up on the catwalk because they were seeing this shadow of a woman up on the catwalk. So I was up there checking it out, seeing what was going on up there, using the magnetometer. Dominic's down in the dressing room using the EVP. And when we've ever used EVPs, they've never really worked for us, to be honest with you. It's just like we've gotten maybe one or two times, maybe a hum or something like that, or like some kind of a voice, but it doesn't really work. But Dominic was down there doing the EVP, saying in the dressing room, and it's dark, he's got the night vision on, if you're in here, can you give me a sign? Can you give me a sign that you're here? And with that, you could hear on the video knocks on the door, on the wall, some kind of knocks. It scared the hell out of Dominic. You could see him jump in the video, and he was freaked out. And then we come to find out later that a worker had the same thing happen to him there. So
repeatable.
It was repeatable. So yeah, it was very weird. So those kind of things happen. We're catching orbs all the time on different investigations. Orbs, you could definitely tell the difference between orbs and dust. But there's some weird thing with these orbs.
Yeah, when you said you have an orb that comes up behind you and then stops.
Yeah.
That's
it's the behavior.
It was weird. Yeah.
It was sharp turns.
Yeah.
Dust kind of flows.
It was weird. I mean, we had a similar situation here at my house. We think it was my mom, because in 2018, we lost her in September of 2018. But I think it was 2019, I was playing the piano here, and I was playing a little keyboard, and my girlfriend says, "Oh, that's really beautiful. Can you play that again?" So, and she wanted to videotape it. So I played it. As she's videotaping it, you see this orb come into the screen. I'll have to send this to you. You can see this orb coming into the screen, going over my shoulders, this big orb. And you could hear her on the video gasping because she saw it.
She saw it as it was happening.
She saw it as it was happening.
Unique.
So that was really weird. And then we had a situation here a couple of years ago where I have a little coffee station, and we have a little tin light that's like a tin, like with 4 or 5 lights inside this little old style tin light, right?
Yeah.
And there's a switch on the wall, but we have plaster walls here. So this switch, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, where it's operated by a 9-volt battery. It's like almost
switch
like
itself.
Yeah, the switch itself, because
wow.
And that'll turn the lights on. It's like a remote control kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So because the walls are so thick, they couldn't have the wiring go through the wall, so they had to have it this way, like through this switch type of situation. Not completely sure how it works, but it's worked. It's you use a 9-volt battery with it. So one night we're laying in here, and they for the couple of nights in a row, the light would go on at 3:00 in the morning over my coffee station. And we were like, what the hell's going on? So I'd shut it off. It goes back on again. Shut it off. 10 minutes later, goes back on again. So we go back out again, and I took the battery out. I took the little 9-volt battery out,
Yeah.
then went back to bed. The light came on again. And I'm like, what? So Sherry takes all the light bulbs out of it, which they're still out of there, and says, and then says, "Get out of my house," like that. And with that, her purse goes from on the island that we have. It flips off the island, like something pushed it off the island.
Oh boy.
So Sherry is she's more of a psychic. She's got those senses than I do.
Mhm.
But we think and every once in a while in here, you could smell cigarette smoke, and I've never smoked a day in my life. And and Sherry doesn't smoke. Nobody smokes here, but it's weird. And we live in the country, so there's nobody around.
Yeah, you're not going to get something coming in from a neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So those kind of
Go
things
ahead.
happen. Yeah.
You mentioned, it's so funny. You're always like a step ahead of me on. You have mentioned the other thing I wanted to ask you about. I respect all the people that you've talked about, but anytime I watch a paranormal investigation or TV show, psychics are the thing I'm the most skeptical about.
Yeah.
I think the cold reading people like John Edward are charlatans.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So again, though, I have an open mind and everything like that. But when I got watched, like, what's that show on?
The Long Island Medium.
Long Island
but
Medium.
there's the British show where they go ghost hunting, and they have
Most
the
Haunted.
Most Haunted.
Oh, Most Haunted. Yeah.
Yeah, like that guy. Like, I don't believe a thing that guy.
Yeah. Well, look, a lot of it's for TV. So you're right. So a lot of it is for TV. It's for the entertainment value. You know.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on
oh yeah, I mean,
you work with?
When I work with these, I'm with you there on some of that stuff, because I'm like, okay, if Dominic didn't go like 99% of the time, like on these things that he's picked up on, that there's nothing online about, there's nothing told about it, so that makes me believe that, okay, he's got a gift. He's got a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not always on. He's not always on. So there are times that he's not picking up on stuff. It doesn't necessarily make me think that he's not, picking. He may just be having a bad night, or he's just not tuning in on the right kind of energy. Other people, and the only two that I've really worked with, I can't really speak for a lot of people, but with Julie, Julie Krause is another. She's a really good friend of ours, and that was referred to me. She's a psychic medium. Dominic is a spirit medium. The spirit medium sees spirits around people. So if Dominic is seeing you, Jack, he could see a spirit of a loved one maybe behind you, or whoever.
Or a hated one.
Or a hated one.
Most likely, that's what Jack would attract.
But we all have them, right? But now Julie will see pictures. She'll see pictures in her mind. This is their process, and I always ask them when I first met with Julie, like I asked her, "What's your process? How do you do this? What is your process like?" So, yeah, who knows for certain what is 100% or what's not. Yeah. I do know that we're not the ones exacerbating the fear factor, like some of those do. Where they're going to be like, they're latching onto something that's horrible. In a lot of these TV shows, it's all about evil spirits and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans. Oh my God, I got hit again. Oh my God. It's so
I'm
it's
possessed again.
Yeah, he got possessed. I mean, look, those guys, they started all that genre. They started it all. So I give them respect, but there is a point of like, come on, guys. There's like some things here. Let's make it like less entertainment value, and let's do it more of a truth-based, scientific way of looking at this thing, or looking at it from a skeptical side, but turning the skeptic into a believer.
Yeah. It's hard with a TV show because they have to entertain.
You got to
happen in that hour.
And look, even in our stuff, I try to keep it. I try to have some humor in there. And I think humor is really important in these kind of situations because, like us tonight, we're all busting on each other, which is great because that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
and that's what makes good entertainment. It's like regular guys talking about a very irregular subject, and trying to come up with some truth to it, trying to come up with some answers. And I think that's what we're all trying to do. But somewhere along the line, it's become this dynamic where it's got to be scary, or it's got to be this, or it's got to be that. Even us investigating the Beast of Bray Road, yeah, it was scary. I didn't realize that we were going to put ourselves in that kind of position, but we did, and but we got on video what we wanted to achieve, something that we can't explain,
Yeah.
and it's something that we continue to do. So, yeah, there are those people, unfortunately, that are out there that are just doing it for the money, and not, unfortunately, I get people asking me all the time, help me, my house is haunted. Can you help us? And I don't do that. I don't do that.
Because you don't know what to do. You collect evidence. You're looking for the experience, but
we're a TV show. And we're a TV show. We're a TV show. We're going and investigating things like that, but I don't know what to do for them. So I'm going to basically help them and refer them to people that could go in and cleanse their house, maybe a priest or something like that. Sometimes there's a lot of people, there's a lot of lonely people out there, and it's unfortunate that sometimes the paranormal genre speaks to them as well. And it may be a misinterpretation of really what's going on, with them. But I don't discount anything that people tell me, right? I am pretty good at discerning the truth from the BS. So I could tell you right now, if somebody, when I'm interviewing a witness and their voices are cracking, or they're getting goosebumps, or they're having a really hard time talking about the subject, you could pretty much bet it's something that really happened to them and they can't explain it. It's had a profound effect on them. Yeah. Just like your Hunter, like your UFO encounter, like you can't, and me with the Beast of Bray Road, we're still trying to figure out what the hell that was.
I'm almost 40 years out and I still am not sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, before we wrap things up, and everybody go out and buy his book, Eric Mintel Investigates, Casebook Investigations 2016 to, your cover's like a headstone.
It is. That's right. It's like I'm still here.
We haven't buried him yet.
People can get that. Well, I was going to say people could buy that on Amazon, and it's available on Amazon and on a lot of my speaking engagements. You'll see it on my websites, ericmintelinvestigates.org. Got a lot of things coming up around the Eastern Seaboard, so come out and see us. I'm going to be at the Mothman Festival this coming weekend down in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, speaking, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
So I'm going to hit you with a what if. I'm a big comic fan.
Yes.
I win Powerball, big Powerball. So first thing I do, other than buy a new Jeep, is I come to you and I say, here's a blank check. I'm going to give you 1 year. You can bring whoever you want. You got a whole year just to dedicate solely to investigating one particular paranormal thing. And I'm not just talking like thing as in, I'm just going to explore ghosts. Well, no, you get a year to explore a particular ghost or a particular cryptid or a UFO sighting.
Or a place.
What's your choice?
Hands down would be Beast of Bray Road, because there's a lot more going on there than we know that's going on. We got permission to explore the extra 185 acres there.
Ooh, that's a lot
around the area. So we got permission to do a lot more. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that we haven't. There's hair samples that we could get DNA tested. There's a lot of really cool things there, but there's a lot of these stories from people that are still seeing this thing. There's other stories going on there. So yes, that area is we could spend an entire year just doing that.
I'll give you extra money for flare guns.
Okay.
Don't
Perfect. I'll need them.
Sounds like you could use real guns too.
Oh my God, you're not kidding. Yeah. Who knows if it would even work on this thing?
Silver bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
So where can people find your show?
Well, they could look on right immediately on YouTube. It's Eric Mintel Investigates on YouTube. They'll see a lot of interviews that I've just been doing lately, and I also have a lot of in the field investigations. Like I said, the Beast of Bray Road. We've got Pine Barrens Bigfoot, Chills at Cheney Hall, and I've got a whole list of videos coming out in the next few weeks, actually, that are going to be released, especially at a new series that we're doing called Paranormal Pickers, and it's actually going to be changing its name to Paranormal Activity Research Agency, and it's a vampire museum that we've been doing these investigations, and it centers around this vampire paranormal museum in Doylestown called.
I've heard of that place. I'm dying to go there.
Oh, you got to come down, man! It's the Vampa. It's called the Vampa Museum. You guys will freak out if you get down there. Let me know if you're coming, because what I'll do is I'll hook us all up and get a tour in there, no problem.
Oh, dude!
So we know
it's so done.
You have to wait until your busy next month is done.
Yeah,
After Halloween.
Yeah, come in November, man, or something. That'd be awesome.
Hells yeah! Oh my God,
it would be great. I'm actually going to be there like every day in October, except all my Sundays are off. So I'm going to be over at the Vampa Museum doing book signings all those Sundays there. So if you make figure out a Sunday to come over and in October, and we'll go in, man. It's unbelievable. You were talking about the ghost and what happened like before, just real quick. We did a premiere at the Vampa Museum of parts 1 and 2 of what we did so far. And right after part 2 is over, I said to the audience, I said, well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. What did you think? And everybody stands up, they start clapping. And with that, in the back where we actually had a lot of activity in this barn, a beautiful hutch crashes.
You brought the house down.
We just literally. Literally.
Wow.
I mean, it was something that, again, you can't write this stuff. And it's smashed over. Ed, the owner, freaks out, goes running in the back what happened. And here it's all glass all over the place. And it was in this area that we had all this activity. So, and people came back and looked at this thing, but Julie was there. She was freaked out. Dominic was there. They were both freaked out. And for what happened to Dominic in this doll room, he got growled at, and he will not go back. He's not going back in this place. So he doesn't want to go back inside. So it's there. So that's a new series. But yeah, you guys come down on a Sunday, man. We'll go in October. We'll go down.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you got to come down. You're not that far. So you're not that far from us. You're a couple hours away.
Jack, you're fine. You got a place to stay for free.
I learned about that museum, and I think I emailed you once about the Hunter. I'm just like, it's on my bucket list. So
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Let's take one off the list.
There you go.
Is there any chance, Eric? Are you nearby a piano or a keyboard? I was wondering if you'd be the first guest to play us out.
Wait, no, I've got 2 more things I got to ask.
2 more things. I said, as we're wrapping up.
Have you ever heard of a book called? Have you ever heard of a book called Will Storr versus the Supernatural?
No.
It's really good. So this guy, Will Storr, is an author.
Okay.
It's an older book because I mentioned it. I added him on Twitter after I read it, and he's like, "Oh wow, it's been a while since anybody's talked to me about this one." Will Storr, Storr.
Okay.
Basically, this guy took like a year of his life and investigated the paranormal, and he's a guy like us, just looking for the truth.
Yeah.
And really interesting, and again, one of those learning the truth about what was really going on and encountering some weird stuff.
That's awesome. I'll check it out for sure.
I still have to read that book.
I love it.
Probably our highest rated episode we ever did was investigated the White Lady in Easton, Connecticut, where the Warrens. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that case, but I am familiar with the White Lady that I encountered.
I saw the video short video about that.
Yeah.
So Ed Warren had this video of the White Lady that he took that for years.
Wow.
You had to go to one of his seminars to see it. Now you can see it on YouTube, and it's like this really grainy, and there's a figure walking. But we went there during the day We got an EVP, which I don't think is really anything, but it's interesting. Could be.
Yeah, it was cool. I like
but
that.
If you're ever looking for something in Connecticut, the problem is you can't go there at night without getting arrested. But you seem like the kind of guy that would figure out a way to get permission.
Well, I'd have to call the township or something. But somebody actually who was at the Vampa Museum was a relative of the Warrens. It was like their like a nephew or something.
Yeah.
And he showed me on his phone, he took a picture in the graveyard where they're buried and got this weird mist of this, like, it looked like a woman in the graveyard. It was insane. And that was recent. It was only like a couple of years ago.
Lorraine is back.
She's back with a vengeance. My God. So Hunter, to answer your question, I am not near a piano. The piano's over there. So I'd have to get up and you'd have ET and that was it.
Well, I mean, the good news is we do have outro music and it's wonderful. We love it so much. We've been using it for 13 years.
I should have given you my my tune I wrote called Bigfoot. You could have used that.
Well, send it to me. I'll put it in the.
All right, you got it.
You're not getting out. You're coming back on the show whether you like it or not.
So. I'm there, man.
We want.
This is the start of a beautiful friendship. I like
Absolutely, man. I'm so glad we connected here, man. And also, I am dead serious, man. Get down here and we'll go to the Vampa Museum.
Hell yeah!
So just let me know, Hunter, and you send me an email. I'll send you guys my phone number, and just let me know, okay?
Yeah, you got it. Hey, cool. Thanks for being on, everybody. Eric Mintel Investigates. Check out the book.
Thank you, guys.
Right here.
Thank you, Hunter.
YouTube.
Jack, thank you so much, man.
Great to meet you.
Great talk, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. See you next time on
Monster Men.
Monster Man.